The rise of the Ingebrigtsen brothers over the past decade has been quite incredible. They have transitioned from a relatively normal, unknown family to that of international superstars and been described as the Norwegian Kardashians. All three of the brothers have achieved some incredible feats and have lived the life that some people only dream of, but they are just getting started, and at the ages of 19, 27 and 29 years old, they still have many more goals to fulfill, while the sky is the limit for young Jakob. It all started in Sandnes, Norway, where Philippe, Henrik and Jakob grew up with three other brothers and one sister, and from a young age the whole family was encouraged to compete and excel in sports. But for Philippe and Henrik, they weren't originally solely focused on running, instead competing at a high level in football and mainly cross-country skiing, with Henrik being a two-time Norwegian champion in the event. However, they decided to turn their focus to running at 17 years old, with the Ingebrigtsen father, Gert Ingebrigtsen, and Philip having different views on why. Gert Ingebrigtsen told Independent, "Henrik and Philip did cross-country skiing, but it was too easy. Henrik became Norwegian champion twice, so we chose running instead because it was more difficult." While Philip said, "We were 7 siblings and you need a lot of equipment to do well in winter sports. Running was more practical. Our parents just needed to buy us some shoes and we could go training." But after quitting cross-country skiing for running, there was no looking back for Philip and Henrik, as at the age of 17 years old, they gradually increased their mileage up to 90 to 100 miles per week, under the watchful eye of Gert, who closely monitored the heart rate on all their sessions and the blood lactic accumulation on the interval workouts on the track. Gert used this to manage the intensity of the brothers during their intervals, making sure they're not pushing too hard on long intervals. Following Henrik and Philippe's newfound success and enjoyment in running, Jakob was naturally nudged in the same direction, joining a track club at the age of 7 years old, participating in sprinting, hurdling and high jumping. But unlike Henrik and Philippe, Jakob quitted cross-country skiing much earlier than them, at the age of 12, deciding to become a specialist in running in his early teens. After the success of his two older brothers, he wanted to follow in their footsteps. However, by this time, Gert had already experimented with Henrik and Philippe and pinpointed what had failed and what led to success. Now knowing what works and using that to his advantage with Jakob, creating a running machine. By the time Jakob turned 18 years old, he had already become the only person in history to be crowned both European 1500 metre and 5000 metre champ in the 2018 European Championships, and was the 3-time European Junior Cross-Country Champion, as well as being the youngest athlete to break the 4-minute mile barrier. But this was only the beginning for the young prodigy. Although this success is not solely down to natural talent, Gert is thought to have trained the three brothers very different to how most young athletes are trained. Up until the age of 16, Jakob's training was mainly long and continuous, with very few short intervals. But after that point, Gert started to incorporate frequent interval sessions into their weekly training, mostly involving minute-long speed bursts at 10k pace, which differs to most elite runners who tend to base most of their intervals at 1500 metre to 3k pace. Even though this training appears to be unorthodox, it has worked a treat for Jakob, who was the hottest young prospect in distance running. But as the speed and calibre of the Ingebrigtsen brothers has changed, their training has changed with it as well. It is now thought that the brothers primarily complete 2000 to 3000 metre intervals, with Gert still taking lactic levels to make sure they don't overcook the efforts in these workouts. But now, at the age of 19 years old, Jakob is no longer an up-and-coming prospect. He is a star of the current times in both the 1500 metre and 5k events, with only Timothy Cheruiyot beating him in the 1500 metres. He is now the European record holder in both the 1500 metre and 2k events, the 4-time European Junior Cross-Country Champion, and he has incredible personal bests like 3:28.68 for the 1500 metres, and is one of the favourites for the Tokyo 2020 1500 metres, with seemingly only Cheruiyot in between him and an Olympic gold medal. But let's not forget about Henrik and Philippe, who have both had amazing careers respectively, with Philippe being the 2016 European 1500 metre champ and Henrik winning the same title back in 2012, along with many other accolades. And even though the spotlight is currently on Henrik, Philippe and Jakob, there is rumoured to be yet another up-and-coming star in the Ingebrigtsen household, who could also be a force to be reckoned with in the future. So that's the end of the video. I hope you now understand how remarkable the Ingebrigtsen brothers' rise to stardom has been. and now are aware of how incredible this sporting family is. But if you enjoyed the video, make sure to check out some of our other videos and feel free to massively help out the channel by liking and subscribing.